Hello guys, this is Ray from Next Forex Trade. Today is the 12th of August 2019. It's a Monday. It's just gone 4:30 a.m. here in the UK. So let's just kick off with a breakdown on how my trade from Friday went. And this was on the GBP CAD. Obviously you can rewatch my analysis of that from the watch list, the playlist that we have, and in this instance this was a trade definitely could have milked for a bit more if you like, but I wasn't around, so the exit on this was done from the kind of automatic take profit levels that I'd set. And if you watch back, you'll see there were two positions I took on this. So my overall plan was 2% risk on this, and it played out as planned. So we've got the daily chart here, which was showing our signs of bearishness with lower lows, lower highs. I'd noticed that we'd had this reversal candle here, and the price moved past the low of it. I think I'd held this, so I got on this on the 8th, which was the Thursday, I believe. Yep, so I took this over the Thursday into the Friday. If we look at the hourly here, it looks a bit confusing with all these lines on here, but they all have their meanings. So my first entry, so there's two colors here. I don't know if that comes up on the screen, but there are two colors that we've got here, purple and blue. That's the way I'm seeing them anyway. They may appear differently on the screen for you, but these represent the two different trades. So this to this was one position, this to this was the second position. So the first position I got in here, and it was around what was the time and date? So this was 6. So I think it was on this candle here. 1634. So yeah, it's around about this candle here I got in on the first position. And we can see on the Friday I got out here. So there was money left on the table because the price did come down as low as this. And if you look at the analysis I did on Thursday and Friday, I did anticipate that the price could move much lower as well to those type of lows, to this kind of oversold region on the standard deviation that we're seeing on the daily. But I was I can't be in front of the charts all the time, and I was away from the charts, and for that reason, rather than the price action change on the lower time frames and me not be able to react to that, I'm happy to take the profit set by the take profit levels. So in this instance, this trade came out 118 spot 70, minus comms and swaps. And the second position was one that came out at £75 here. So this was the entry, would have been around here. This was the second position. So I scaled into this position and exited it around here. There were some other reasons why I decided to remove this position. It wasn't taken up by the take profit level. I manually exited this. So all in all, it's around about 2%, just under 2% that was achieved on this. Money left on the table, but not displeased by that. There's always going to be other setups. Had I seen the price action as well, I would have likely traded this slightly different if I'd been around. But yeah, not a bad result. But yeah, it could have been more. 100. If I were to rate that, I would say in terms of execution on the entry, perfectly fine, 10 out of 10. And the management of it, I'm happy with as well. But if I'd been in front of the computer, like I said, it wouldn't have been. It would have been slightly more in terms of the profit. But let's have a look at some of the other stuff in the market. The main things that I've seen are on the AUD crosses and GBP crosses. They've had a nice retrace. and we'll go over those now. So firstly we're looking here at the AD CAD. So as part of the strategy, obviously we've got the lower lows and lower highs. So we've got a downtrend in place. We've got the standard deviation channel around the price, and it's nicely interacting with the average here. We've seen some reversals off of that type of level. Just see if there's, I'm just looking at this previous high, which I'm doing the lower high, to see if there's any levels of previous support or resistance it interacts with. There isn't. So really there's only the kind of broad assumption that what we're seeing here is a lower high. It's kind of supported as well in this 4 hourly. So this move here is really on a daily, this move here. And what's good about this on the 4 hourly is that we're seeing this inside of the standard deviation channel, viably lower lows and lower highs as well. This high here has hit its standard deviation channel and moved away from it, which are all signs of bearishness. Our lower time frames as well are starting to show lower highs and lower lows, so that's good, supporting the idea of shorting. I'm undecided yet as to whether this is the position I'm going to take. I'm just going to go over some of the other ones, and I'll make a decision probably when I'm offline. But this, yeah, certainly is looking good for shorts. In terms of a stop loss placement, I mean, I think there is something to be concerned about on this. The fact that this lower high that we're seeing here hasn't interacted with any previous support or resistance is a bit of a warning sign for me, because ideally I'd want to see that kind of interact with some decent previous support or resistance, which it's not. Also, I'm taking this as the context for the standard deviation where the price is interacted with the top, but there is a clearer downward move here as well, which would mean the price could viably go to test these highs up here, and that would make more sense in terms of the price finding a lower high in that move because of the previous support that it was finding here. So I am hesitant to take a short on this, but it is still tradable if I were to put stop loss above these type of levels here. But I'm just gonna see if there's other stuff in the market which is better suited. So AUDCHF, just go to here. Similar story, obviously it's a similar pair. It's the same concept here, that we've got this bearishness that we've captured in this standard deviation channel, and if we were to look at this from this point of view, then definitely this is a bit too oversold. We need to find it, pull back a bit more for some value for money. Even taking it from this context of this most recent move, which is the same on a 4 hourly, still not showing great value for money. I mean, it's around the average of the standard deviation channel. Really want it to pull back a bit more to these kind of levels, so probably pass on that. ADJPY, no, too oversold. Just looking at the daily here. This is ADUSD. Yeah, some decent price action. So again, I'm deeming this. I mean, there aren't really lower lows and lower highs in this. This is just one extension, really, this move here. But there's at least context in the standard deviation in the way that the price has moved. It's come up, it's hit it on the Friday, it's moved away in this move. I'm just looking to see if there's any previous support or resistance that goes back. There's this this low here that we're seeing. It's on the daily. There's even more context on the weekly, so going up a time frame. So that gives a clue that level could be quite tricky to move past higher again. But how do we frame the trade? 4 hourly is looking, I mean, okay. That's a bit of concern. So overall, I'm thinking bearish on this, but the main, so in this move down here on the daily as well, this move here, but can you see on the 4 hourly how in this retrace that we've seen in this move here, it's captured in this standard deviation channel as well. We've had a reversal candle off of the standard deviation channel, lower edge, and there's kind of support as well that's reversed off of. So that isn't great in terms of considering a short. Really, it's going to need to break past these lows here, break out that standard deviation channel, break out of this higher low that we're seeing as well on the 4 hourly. These lower time frames give some indication that could happen, because if we look at the 15-minute here, it's starting to make lower lows, lower highs. So if, in the next, in the European session, if the price moves down past these previous lows, it's these same lows here, then that could that could give some premise for a short, but it's a bit too early days, really. No, CAD CHF, no. Next, no, 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 no. What's this, euro? Yeah, I thought it was. So this same story that I've been talking about past over last week as well. The way it's hugging this standard deviation here on the daily is quite good, because these highs have got lower as well. It hasn't passed that previous lower high as well, so that area was quite significant resistance. The only problem is there's not real kind of congruence in the other time frame. So the 4 hourly, we've still got this upward move, it's flattened out, it's finding support at this level. It's still a case of waiting to break past these lows, which will probably be quite a violent break if it does break. But the way this has started to flatten out and still within the standard deviation on the 4 hourly, that's echoed on the hourly as well. Just finding this support here, very sideways, 15-minute, very sideways. So to make a definitive kind of play on this, it needs to break lower. And if it were to, then certainly, the scope of this short is, to these areas here. If you really wanted to take the maximum potential out of this, then it's these lows down here where the price would then become oversold based on the standard deviation and interacting with previous lows as well. So wait and see on the euro. GBP, AUD, over this, needs a bit more value for money, needs to pull back. Oversold, and really looked at that anyway. No, oversold, similar chart, no. Okay. Section is looking good. Tricky thing with this, we've got, so the daily on this, we've got the lower lows, lower highs, great standard deviation. It's interacted with the upper edge here, saying it's oversold. It's just a little bit late in this move, which means that you know, the stop isn't going to be above the most obvious lower high up here. I'm going to have to choose somewhere else, probably based on the lower time frames. So the 4 hourly, we've got this move here, which is this one here. We can see that it's just breaking out of the standard deviation channel. So this move here, where we're seeing the higher lows and higher highs, the price is broken out of that, and it looks like it's finding resistance off of it. And we can see that in the lower time frames. So this move here is starting to move with lower lows and lower highs on the lower time frames, which is good in terms of looking for shorts. Now, is this tradable? Now, okay, I'll be thinking, if we were to short this, first of all, just 1% rather than, you know, the upper 2%, because there are a few things that aren't ideal here. Firstly, the stop loss placement is not above the lower high on the daily price action, but we can get it outside of the standard deviation channel, both, you know, here, or if we're looking at the 4 hourly here, and it gives us enough wiggle room to maneuver if we do start to see higher highs and higher lows on the lower time frames. Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, just going into a coughing fit there. Sorry about that. One of the hazards of doing this live. Yeah, there are no retakes. Just got into a coughing fit. Okay, so yeah, using the hourly as a guide to short this, I'll be thinking stop loss above here. So it's worrying as well, because I mean, selling at this point, be selling into that selling into that support and previous resistance as well. This level here, it's not a great time to be selling. Come on. So for if I were to short right now, basically I'm selling into that support. You don't really want to sell into support, you want to sell off of resistance. So that's not great. But definitely with stop loss placement above here, that makes sense. Let's see how this stacks up in terms of reward to risk. So 28. It's about there. Just eyeballing this really at the moment, just to see how the trade would stack up. So on a 1-to-1 reward to risk, like I said, with 1% risk, I mean our stop loss is above here, so we're clearing these highs and clearing these previous lower highs as well. We're outside the standard deviation channel, and it would mean that we'd be looking for a take profit around here, which makes sense in terms of the daily time frame, because it's before this previous lowest low so far, which is preferable to it having to move beyond that level. So yeah, that is tradable. More conservative trade would be waiting for it to break that support, waiting for the price to come down, move past these lows, probably see some support off of the lower standard deviation channel and pull back. So waiting for it to break and then pull back and find resistance and see a reversal candle either off of the average or the upper standard deviation channel. That will be the trade. So yeah, tradable, but not quite yet. Wait and see on that, or just save your capital, wait for something better. GBP/USD reaching almost all-time lows here. No, too oversold, just shorting. Obviously there's potentials for fade trades, so going against the trend, but that's not part of this strategy that we're talking about here. No. Hang on, let's go back on that one. USD CAD. Just track this movement. Not one I'd do today. I'd wait for this candle to close for today and then see if it looks something like it is now on a close, then potentially longs on this should the price move past the high of that, and you know the lower time frame corroborates that. So I mean the channel looks great on the 4 hourly, lovely price action, higher highs, higher lows. The daily, I mean that could just be a retrace, but if there's a nice reversal candle or a bottomy type candle today, close of trading today, then perhaps tomorrow that would be worth considering longs on. No, and Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin, you've seen it hit that resistance I put in, that would have been on Friday. You've seen that reversal off of that. Wow, look at the gap on that as well. That's a massive gap. That's one of the reasons I don't really trade Bitcoin. These massive gaps from close of close. I thought it was 24/7, but it's 24/5 apparently. So that close on Friday was up here, and then it opened all the way down, down here. So that's just yeah. I mean, it's viable to trade intraday, in my opinion. And obviously, if you've got a big enough position size where those gaps don't mean anything to your profit, but really, yeah, it's not great. But just, I mean, how this stacks up at the moment, we've seen this upward movement. We've seen it kind of hit previous resistance here as well. It's fallen away. Lower time frames are very flat, but the main context I'm seeing here, given that overall I'm bullish on this, is the 4 hourly giving some context to it, because if we see that this price here, these lows here are quite in support as well, so that this move here is the same as on hourly here, this support that the price has found. It's had trouble moving lower than this level. So if the 4 hourly candle, we see a reversal off the standard deviation channel here and price move past the highs, viably you could take a long position on that. It's not the ideal setup, but I mean basically this is the danger zone, right? So if we're looking at the hourly, this kind of support area here is a danger zone. So it's almost like a box trade, if you like, on the hourly, but taken in the context of the 4 hourly, be looking at this as an uptrend, and this is a higher low. So a stop loss below this level, if you wanted to be super conservative, below this level, depending on how the reversal candle comes out on the 4 hourly, that will determine where your entry is and where your stop loss is going to be. So, you know, even going for stop loss under there, 3,700, it would mean with, don't know where the entry is going to be because we need that reversal to happen. But let's say it happens around here, then, you know, going for the more aggressive stop under these levels, it would put you 1-to-1 in around about this area here. Yeah, so way before this previous resistance, which is good. It's still within this box channel, so it makes it more achievable, more probable. And, you know, even with a stop underneath these kind of levels, it would still be likely before these previous highs here. So on a short-term play on Bitcoin, I would be thinking, you know, wait for a reversal candle on 4 hourly. Make sure that there's enough value for money based on where it moves. So if it moves too much into this range, then it would mean, you know, your stop loss placement would be too far away. So you want it to be a nice tight kind of entry as close to this lower edge as possible. So maybe beyond halfway is probably too far. But if you see that reversal candle and it moved past the high and it's still kind of around these levels, it means, you know, aggressively you could have your stop underneath here and taking your 1-to-1 before these highs, that stacks up as a trade. You need to worry that if it goes too much further, so that when your stop's here, pushes your take profit way beyond these levels, that's kind of a longer term trade, because what you're saying is it has to make new highs in order to you to, you know, profit. And it's finding, you know, it's in this box here where it's found a lot of support, found a lot of resistance. So really taking money off the table, you know, in between this area here is probably the more sensible short-term play, rather than to see it break lower or break higher to make your return. But yeah, that's it for today. If I do take a position, obviously I will update you guys on that tomorrow. And yeah, just if you like what you're hearing, do subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow this at the moment, and feel free to ask any questions that you might have as well. Thanks a lot. Bye.